live at Woody's Country Store and Barbecue, bringing you the best in real Texas barbecue. This is Sooner Sports Talk on the Sooner Sports Network from Learfield.
Stripped by Godwin, breakaway, Sam Godwin, hammer! Godwin picked the pocket.
Wing to Verhulst, quick release three, swish.
Fierce, pull up three for the tie, foul! He hit it! He hit it! Miles, pump fake, steps left, open three for the lead, got it! He knocked the bottom out of it, and the Sooners lead it! Northweather for three, Big Luke! Big Luke! Bam! Throw ahead to Moore, Moore with the breakaway, he'll dunk it, and you can unhitch the wagon! You can unhitch the wagon! Put the ponies in the barn!
This is Sooner Sports Talk.
They go empty on 2nd and 11 from the 45. Back to pass. Milroe looks right, throws right. Picked off! Kip Lewis down the sidelines. 20, 15. He did it again! He did it again! Kip Lewis, pick six! Kip Lewis, Kip six! Oh, Bubba!
Welcome to Sooner Sports Talk. That's the way you start a show, boys.
That is the way you start a show.
Get a little juice going.
Love it.
These two guys are going to be very happy today.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, let me introduce Teddy Lehman, Butkus Award winner, two-time All-American,
Oh, yeah.
national champion. We get it. And
The
then
best.
everyone's favorite, 7-year, 8-year Sooner? 9-year?
This is year 10.
10 years.
Yeah.
And 8 of them were as a player.
7, 6.
Caleb
Yeah,
Kelly in the
there we
house.
go. There we go.
Boys, last week I got my way. We talked all offense.
Yeah.
Today
It was
you
cool,
get your
though.
way. Yeah, it was great. You guys
Yeah.
did great.
Lots of shout-outs to the O-line, huh?
Hey, I'd love to hear it. This show, we're talking all defense. Now, before we talk about what's going on in spring ball, kind of what the defense for the 2025 season looks like, let's take a look back at what the defense was able to accomplish in the 2024 season. And Ted, when you think about what OU was as a defense a season ago, what did you think were the defense's biggest strengths?
Well, I thought it was incredibly balanced with what you got from all three levels of play. And I think one of the things that they were great at that you don't talk about as much or don't think about as much is we're a really good tackling football team. And that's where you just, you chew up yards on offense from missed tackles. Yeah, you got a good concept going, but it's those one-on-one plays where you make a guy miss and you get first downs, extend drives, turn a decent gain into an explosive. And I thought we did a really good job limiting that. Now, we gave up some big plays, over the top a handful of times, but, really in the running game, I thought we were physical. I thought we tackled well. We didn't have huge sack numbers, but I thought we affected the quarterback a lot.
Yeah.
And I think we got good, solid play. Like I said, all three levels from a bunch of different guys that contributed. A nice rotation of defensive linemen and edge guys. We played multiple linebackers, even in points of the game where it hadn't been decided. Same thing in the secondary. We had different safeties coming in. So I thought you got a really good effort from multiple guys at all the levels. And the main thing for me was just consistency, tackling limited the amount of big explosive plays.
I love what Ted says. You don't hear much about the tackling, and that's a good thing this year.
That's right.
Because in years prior,
It sticks out whenever you don't tackle well.
Yeah, them boys can't tackle. They need
Yeah.
what they do all the times playing on Lincoln Riley's teams where we're like 127th in pass defense. You hear all day long, do they ever practice tackling? And so to see just the shift, and you think about it, it's not even that many years that it took for Coach Venables to shift this thing to, okay, we're this offensive team, offensive first, and now we're known as a defensive team again.
Yeah.
I mean, you were talking
Happened
about
quick.
it when he came. I specifically remember you saying, he's going to come back and bring back Oklahoma defense. And I truly feel like it's here, and we've seen it because in a year where we didn't have a super explosive offense, a team that had offensive guys just scoring whenever they wanted to, defense kept us in majority of those
Bunch of
games. You
yeah.
look at a Tennessee losing by like 11 or something like that. You see all these other games throughout the entire season where, man, defense battled. And a big thing that I love being a guy that this was my biggest emphasis. I felt like the thing that was going to get me to the league is defensive touchdowns and turnovers. And in a year, you saw it there in the stats where we had 1.7 a game. I mean, these guys are emphasizing it, and it's working. And everything that they're doing on defense is working. I'm really excited in the growth because we got a bunch of guys to come back, even though we lost some real key guys. And so, man, I think there's just so much jump that can happen this year.
Opening segment brought to you by Noble McIntyre with McIntyre Law. Noble McIntyre at McIntyre Law, the law firm for all your personal injury needs. Ted, you mentioned maybe giving up too many deep passes last year as a defense, but how do you balance what we saw from the defense a season ago with the offensive struggles? Because it's hard to know just how good that defense would have been
I agree.
if they would have gotten a little more
And
on
some
the offensive
complimentary
side.
stuff.
A little,
yeah.
yet I think we can all agree that it was not complimentary football for the
Right.
Sooners a year ago.
Yeah, it's hard. You're not going to stop everything. I liken football a lot to a game of poker. You have to wait for your opportunities whenever the percentages are in your favor. And, you may give up a couple of first downs, but then maybe you get a tackle for loss on first down and a sack on second down, and now you're in third really long. Those are the chances where you turn people over. You get a sack fumble. You force a quarterback into a throw that he probably shouldn't make, but, they get a little bit desperate. The other part of that is the offense helps put the other offense in desperate situations. We almost never played with a lead. And, whenever a lot of good defenses play good defense because they're playing with a lead, the other team becomes desperate, they become one-dimensional. As the clock ticks down, you see the score on the scoreboard, they have to try and generate yards and points. And by doing that, they are exposing themselves and they're taking a risk. And that's whenever you can take advantage of it. You can take advantage of it with play calling. You can take advantage of it with, as simple as a defensive end is flying off the football because he's expecting pass. They got to throw the ball. Corners are sitting on routes a little bit more. They can play a little deeper and come up and jump stuff. So, I agree. I think that if we had a more balanced football team last year, who knows how good our defense could have been statistically.
I thought one of the more impressive things about the 2024 defense was they always seemed to keep their composure, even when the offense was really struggling. You never saw, and you were in the building every day, and I'm sure there were some things behind closed doors, but you never really saw those guys on the defensive side of the ball lose their cool on the guys on the offensive side of the ball. And I thought that was really reflective of the leadership of that group and just kind of how they went about their business, Caleb.
Yeah, the leaders and guys like Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman and Ethan Downs. I mean, you think about the three that all got to go to the combine, but were leaders the entire year. And you just look at their demeanors. And, Danny's funny on Twitter, but when it comes to sports and football and game time, like he locks in. He's the guy that's given the rah-rah speech before to wake the guys up. He's real serious about his craft, and that's why he's still going to get drafted. And the NFL guys are okay with that because he's shown that time and time again. When we need somebody, he's going to be the vocal guy that you look to. Billy Bowman's been the same way since he was a freshman. Come in, put your head down, work, expect greatness. And if something's wrong, correct the guy and continue to go. And then Ethan Downs is as humble as it gets. And so when you look at guys where they are having success, they are the leaders that the team looks to, and then they see the offense not, well, the reality is they're just going to be pushing their own guys. They're so focused on how can we get better. We're still losing games. That means the other team scored. So the accountability that those guys had for their own defense, I thought was really impressive. And then another point that I think is really good about the defense as a whole is that when you're down and out, it's real easy to have the side-eye looks and looking at the offense and be disappointed in them, and then you're so focused on what the other side's not doing that you start losing your own focus on your side. So you aren't communicating well. You're making more mistakes. You're losing focus because you've got to do something extravagant instead of just doing your job. Just do your job over and over and over again. And so defense last year did so good of that because of those leaders. And then it paid off when we got in those closer games like Alabama where we're going back and forth, or even a Missouri where we lost it. But, I mean, defense is there the entire time, scoring touchdowns, making those big plays, because they have that discipline.
Well, desperation works both ways.
Yeah.
And, when on defense, when you get desperate, what do guys do? Just like he said, try and do someone else's job.
Yeah.
We got to make something happen. I got to get an interception. I got to get a sack. And you run around blocks. You jump a route whenever you're not supposed to. And the whole thing just unravels. And I think it speaks volume of not just the leadership on the defense, but honestly, the culture of the whole football team in the locker room to stay together and continue to battle.
That all starts with Venables.
Yeah.
Right? And he talks constantly about the culture of the program, what he wants it to look like, what he wants the mentality to be. And Caleb, it seems like what we saw from the defense, from the leaders on that side of the ball last year is exactly what Venables is looking for. Clearly, he wants that on the offensive side of the ball as well. He wants to see those guys succeed. But I think that the way that the defense handled the adversity throughout the season is a great reflection of where the culture is with this program.
Yeah, I think you, inside the building, see a lot of irritation in those moments. Irritation because the guys continue to do the right thing and it wasn't paying off on the weekends. And so here you go, you got offense who's trying as hard as they can, running 5 different offensive schemes and trying to playing a different offensive lineman every single week, doing what they're best. I mean, they're not going out there and just, all right, let's suck this weekend. Like, let's not put any points up. Like, they're doing the best they can. And so the defense as well has to have that same mindset. So for within the building, there's frustration there. But every single week when you see Coach Venables get up in front of you at team meeting and say, it doesn't matter what it looks like. We're 0-0 every single week. We got to go in. We have to win the game that we're guaranteed, the only one, which is this weekend. Man, those guys just did so well, and I was so impressed with them.
Coming up next, this defense has a lot of key returners. We'll talk about them. Keep it right here. You're watching Sooner Sports Talk at Rudy's.
Sooner Sports Talk is brought to you by Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, bringing you the best in real Texas barbecue. Walden Cleaners and Laundry, where the difference is quality. Riverwind Casino. Good times, great rewards. Dos Equis, the official import beer of OU Athletics. Go for Dos. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Bob Moore Ford is proud to honor service members through the Patriot of the Game. Log on to Soonersports.com/kids for information about joining the Sooner Kids Club presented by OG&E and brought to you in part by Orthodontics exclusively, Mathis Home, and Devon Energy.
There's the snap. They bring 4. Looks right, under pressure. Ball's loose. It's rolling around. It's scooped up. It's going to be a touchdown. Or Mason Thomas as scoop and score.
That was a fun moment.
That was great.
Man.
That was fantastic.
Welcome back to
Were you worried
Sooner-
about the my fault? Were you worried about the tucking the ball right there?
I don't think he saw him.
All right.
I mean, he got laid out, right? I mean, I'm not the only one that saw it. He did say, but grip strength.
Right.
Our Mason's
Grip
got the
strength.
grip
Right.
strength.
That's
Welcome back
right.
to Sooner Sports Talk here at Rudy's. That's where the conversation starts, right? When it comes to key returners for this defense.
Yeah.
It was great news when our Mason Thomas announced he was coming back for another season, boys.
Yeah. How'd you like the announcement with the grease memes and all that? Did you
I was
like that one?
confused.
I think we were all,
by it.
I think a bunch of us went and watched Grease 2, or at least I looked up the plot of Grease 2. I was like, what is?
If you had told me that R. Mason Thomas's announcement that he was coming back would be tied to a movie, you could have gave me a million guesses, and I would not have guessed Grease.
Yeah. Interesting guy. You know, another fun fact about R. Mason Thomas, because I get to spend so much time with this dude, and he's awesome, amazing human, is his top artist every year that he listens to is Michael Jackson. So he's just a blast from the past.
I like that. I like it. He's interesting. You know, he had a great season. You know, just building off of what we talked about in the first segment, almost all of his sacks came whenever we had the lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, late in the game, whenever we had to have something, had to get stops, the other team needed to drive down and score, and he could just pin his ears back and go. That's whenever he was at his best, and we didn't get a whole lot of those opportunities. So, you know, I expect big things from him. You know, he's been – last year was really the first year that he's been able to play the majority of the season healthy. You know, he's been nagged by some ankle stuff, but I don't know. I expect him to have a fantastic season.
Ted, where do you think he can get better?
I mean, I think it's just consistency. And you know, I don't know exactly what weight he played at last year, but whenever you see him right now, he looks great. He looks physical. He looks strong. You know, I would say at the point of attack, even though he can get better, not to say that it's some massive glaring weakness and he was bad, just holding point, being an anchor in some of the run game stuff, I think is, you know, just because he's not the biggest defensive end out there, he's got to really focus on the technique and pad level at that point. So, you know, I think he's a really well-rounded player.
I think you could add in there, you know, you look at 9 sacks, and they're in that time period you're saying where a lot of times it's drop back, you're one-on-one with the tackle, and you're winning your pass rush. But we talk about it so often, you got to turn those into forced fumbles. The number one time in the NFL that there's a forced fumble is coming off of a strip sack.
Yep.
So you only have 1 forced fumble, you have 9 sacks. I think that's an area where, man, you're getting to the quarterback, and now you've proven that you can do it. Guys are going to be looking for you. You're going to have chip blocks now. The guys are going to know where you're at. But when you win again, because you're still going to find a way and continue to win, now let's get the ball out and let's start making game-changing plays week in and week out.
Agree.
This segment is brought to you by Dos Equis, the official import beer of OU Athletics. Go for Dos. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. R. Mason Thomas is the headliner when it comes to the returners, but he's also got a lot of guys back on the interior of that defensive line. Where's that conversation start for you? I mean, Jaden Jackson had such a great freshman year. Dominic Williams back, Grayson Halton back, David Stone, maybe the best-looking D lineman we got now, the way that he's developed physically. That's an exciting group, Caleb.
Man, they're all trained by Todd Bates, who Todd Bates is somebody that you have to give him his credit. He has a lot of first, second-round guys in the NFL right now from Clemson, and you look at the room that he's developed in the 3 years being here, and it looks like he can get some more. I mean, David Stone, you mentioned it. Like I'm so excited for him because here you go, 5-star comes in. You got your 4-star best buddy who is playing and is a freshman All-American and does it right next to you. And next thing you know, I'm not gonna pout. I'm not gonna quit. I'm not gonna transfer and go get money somewhere else because you didn't play me as a freshman. I'm gonna work hard, get better, and he looks amazing, like you said. And so I'm so excited for the whole room. Dominic Williams coming back, man. Go make some money this year. Let's be a leader. Grayson Halton is a vocal leader for those guys. Made a couple of big plays. You saw LSU getting the strip sack for R. Mason's touchdown and really growing into the mature guy that we expect him and need him to be. And so, man, that whole room, like that's a SEC size and style room when I look at it. What you think, Ted?
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, if I'm going to nitpick, and this is something I think will help out R. Mason Thomas as well, I thought our defensive line last year was excellent against the run. We move those guys a lot. You know, they fit into the run scheme a lot, not just holding gaps. Like they fold and they have some twists and stuff in there. They're asked to do quite a bit. I would like to see a better interior pass rush from those guys. I mean, and when you got a great speed rusher like R. Mason Thomas, if the quarterback can always just step up and escape, it makes life very difficult for him.
Yeah.
We've got to get a more consistent pass rush on the inside and, start playing on the other side of the ball in the run game as well, some tackles for loss. And we've done a good job there, but with the talent level that we have coming back, I think that can be a huge weapon for us.
Marcus Strong is a guy
Looks
that
pretty good.
is starting to become part of the conversation when it comes to that defensive tackle rotation. What have you seen from him as he's had a good start to the spring?
Yeah, I think he's been a pleasant surprise for us in the spring because you go a couple years where you don't play and are you going to be a guy that we're going to have to ask to go to the transfer portal? You're kind of on that edge, and that's a conversation that coaches will have, and it's crazy because transfer portal works both ways now. Like guys want to transfer and they want to leave and they want to go get money. Well, sometimes, especially with the roster coming down to 105, like, hey, we got to kick some guys out, as sad as it is. And so you're a guy now where basically back is against the wall. That's the conversation that he's had with these coaches, and you just rise to the occasion. And it really goes to show that sometimes guys take a little bit longer to develop. Like you look at the Obo Okoronkwo that literally didn't really get a snap until his redshirt junior year because of off the field things or grades or whatever it was, and then blows up and gets 9 sacks, gets 10 sacks, and is still playing in the league today. Well, here we go with Marcus Strong, a guy that stuck it out, was never a guy that was in trouble, just didn't produce on the field the way that other guys had and that we were expecting. And so now he's got the physical gifts, and I it's just been a pleasant surprise to see him come up and show up day in and day out.
It's a pet peeve of mine in college that there's a tendency to put guys on a shelf and say that they're never going to become something because they didn't play as a freshman. And guys develop at different paces, as you said.
It is time for the Rudy's question for Teddy.
Oh, boy.
Remember, for the best in real Texas barbecue, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, who will assume the leadership role for this defense? Clearly, Stutzman, Bowman, Downs, they were all leaders at each level of the defense. What do you think, Ted?
Well, I don't – when you have a good unit, whether it's offense or defense, rarely is it just one guy. And I don't think it's going to be just one guy. But I looked at Kobe McKenzie. Whenever you're playing that Mike Backer spot, you got the green dot on your helmet. The communication goes through you. That burden falls on you. And I love what I've seen from him. I think he's poised to have a really good year. And, on the back end, Robert Spears-Jennings is back. He had a really good year. He's going to be asked to be a leader there. I've liked what I've seen from Jaden Hardy.
Yeah.
He talks. He is a guy that communicates like crazy on the back end. And then, whenever you're looked at as the best player, on the front line, or Mason Thomas, I think a lot's going to fall on him as well.
Yeah, I think one other guy I'd add in that back 7 there would be Peyton Bowen.
Yes.
The reason why I say that, of course, he's a gifted, former 5-star, played a lot his freshman year, looking to have him play even more this year, battling different little nicks and things. And so come back this year and ball out. But Peyton Bowen is one of the smartest guys I think that we have on the defense in general, whether it's academics, whether it's on the field. Just the way that he came in and was capable of playing as a true freshman was because he understands schemes, understands the way that football works, and can communicate that effectively. So that's a guy that I would like to see. Now, it's hard when you didn't have a bunch of playing time the year prior, but him and then a Kelly Daniels, who has all the playing time in the world. Yeah, you come from the opposite school, the enemy, but, man, you got more snaps than pretty much everybody on our team now. So you walk in here and you demand that respect in the way that you play and the way you perform. I think those two guys could really have an influence on the team huge this year.
With the way that Kendall Daniels looks, if he starts playing really well, guys that look like that tend to become leaders of the football team.
Yeah,
just saying.
right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. All right, we're over halfway through spring ball now?
Yeah, I think.
Over halfway through spring
Yeah.
ball. Who has stood out in spring ball for the defense? We'll get their answers next. Keep it right here. You're watching Sooner Sports Talk.
Sooner Sports Talk is brought to you by Norman Hyundai, your premier Hyundai dealership for new and used cars. The best place to gear up for game day is shop.soonersports.com. The Sooner Sports Podcast is your all-access audio pass to Sooner Sports. Listen as Toby Rowland and Chris Plank talk all things Sooners. New episodes drop every day. Log on to Soonersports.com/podcast or search Sooner Sports Podcast in your favorite podcast provider. Presented by Allstate and Riverwind Casino. Orthodontics Exclusively is a proud sponsor of the Junior Captain of the Game. Junior Captain is the ultimate fan experience for children 6 to 12.
Welcome back to Sooner Sports Talk here at Rudy's. Teddy Lehman, Caleb Kelly, Gabe Eichard. Time to talk about spring ball, boys.
Yeah.
Standouts. That's what everyone wants to know. That's what the fan base wants to know about. Caleb, I'll start with you. Who are some guys that have really stood out to you through the first half of spring practice?
Yeah, I'm going to get it started with the edges and talk about Taylor Wine a little bit. Taylor Wine, pretty sure Tennessee native, coming in. Yep. This will be his redshirt freshman year. Guy has put on over 40 pounds. I mean, legitimately, though, in the course of the 2 years, like a legitimately has put on 40 pounds. Like went from, I think, 250 to I think he's at 290, 285, somewhere around there.
From personal experience, I can tell you, not that hard. Not that hard.
I've never been able to do it, so, you know.
Just saying, not that difficult.
And so, but it's good weight, too, though.
No, he looks, you're right. You
weight,
you walk out to practice and you go, 44 looks the part.
Yeah.
He looks just big, physical, thick SEC defensive end.
He's the guy on the team that waits all day long for inside drill.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
He's just the big, physical, tough, hard nose.
And I think that Ethan Downs was kind of that guy for this team a year ago, and I do think that Taylor Wine fits that mold of what Ethan brought to the defense, where Ethan wasn't going to rack up a bunch of sacks, but you knew when you turned on the tape and you're an opponent, like as an offensive lineman, you went, oh, man, this isn't going to be fun.
Yeah. Right. What's the movie, like The Program or something? Yes. Where he's like,
don't get
seat
Teddy
at the table.
Don't get Teddy started.
Seat at the table.
Starting defense.
And I think, he's a guy that you hear so often. He's a film guy. So he's sitting there and he's studying film with his coach. I see him upstairs every day with the coaches. He's just bugging Miguel Chavis day in, day out, making them earn that check. I always tell the guys, listen, when I was a player, I used to call them by their salary, like, hey, 600, I need you to watch some film with me today, 600.
That's right.
Hey, you walk over there, I had Coach Mike. What are you now, Coach Mike, 1.2? Hey, 1.2. 1.2 mil. Let's get this work in. And so a guy that does that, you just love to see it because he's doing all the work and it's paying off. Like, how do you not root for a guy like Taylor Wine that goes in, watches film extra with his coach, that goes and does the extra workout, that's put on the weight that they've asked him to, and now it's working on the field? That's what you love watching football and love rooting for guys like that.
He's still young too. He's still young. He's got a lot of time to grow. I'll throw a couple of names out there. Number one, I love watching this kid play because of the energy he brings every time he's on the field. Danny Okoye, he's still raw, and there's still some technique stuff and playing some of the run, but he comes off the football and he's a violent football player. I like him, and we've mentioned his name a couple of times, but when you go out there, it's hard not to notice Kendall Daniels.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just, you got a 6'4", 240-pound linebacker, safety, cheetah, nickel, whatever you want to. He kind of fits all these different roles. Now, he's incredibly athletic, but he's being asked to do a lot, absorb a lot. This is not an easy defense, and there's a bunch on his table right now. When you come from the safety spot where you've got the whole field, you can see everything. I mean, not that it's slower, but you get to see things develop a little bit more. You get up in that front seven, things happen fast, and everyone is really big and really strong. So I think there's going to be a learning curve there. But if he can get this defense down and be a responsibility, like a sound, consistent player, I mean, he can be really dangerous.
I got a question for you, Ted. So you mentioned Danny Okoye. And, I mean, he's probably the most athletic guy on our team. I mean, on his visit, he's doing windmills. Every time he does his elite weigh-in, he hits a backflip, like at 275. Like, it was just – man, do you find it common that those athletic guys are so athletic that they can't control themselves, or what do you think it is with Danny?
I think sometimes it can be hard to corral because your whole life, I mean, it usually doesn't just happen upon guys late. I mean, some guys are later developers, but you're able to get away with being the most athletic.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden the playing field has leveled a little bit. It's harder to relearn the technique whenever the muscle memory is just – your whole life has just been go. So it can be a little bit more difficult to rein that in. But with the focus and, really dialing down on the details, those are the guys that make all the money, that can do everything. There's a lot of good players that, they can do everything, but maybe they give up a little bit athletically. There's great athletes that are going to make plays, but they're going to cost you here and there because they're not, technique-oriented or consistent. But the guys that can do it all, those are the guys that go in the first round. And, he's got the frame for it. We'll just, you just got to give him a little bit of time to get caught up. Because, again, even up front, not an easy defense to absorb.
He has all the physical talent in the world.
Yeah.
And once it all starts coming together, and when I went out to practice, it's clear he's gotten better.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's still got a long way to go. And the good thing is you'd rather have a guy that has his ceiling is way up there.
I'll tell you this. When I was out there on Saturday and they were doing some combo drills, he had a couple of inconsistent reps, but he had a couple of reps where he was putting linemen on their back. So it's those moments.
Well, that's not nice. He didn't
have
to do that.
He's just got to get
call him out,
a little more consistent.
Come on, man. That's your teammate. Don't do that. No, I'm just kidding. This segment is brought to you by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. Now, looking at this defense, you're always interested in the newcomers and the type of impact they could have, whether that's freshmen or transfers. Getting Marvin Jones Jr. out of the portal was a big thing. Caleb, what have you seen from the Florida State transfer?
Size, and a very calm composure to him. I mean, he was a highly recruited guy, has been a couple places now, and sometimes they're scarred up when they've transferred a bunch. But just a guy that's been very trusting and very open and capable and comfortable here at Oklahoma. I know we were high on his list back when he was recruited, and so finally coming home, I think it feels like it's coming home for him. And so a mature guy, though, in that too, to where when you go out there, because the defensive ends, I mean, Ethan Downs ran it, and Ethan Downs is such a standard that it's hard to live up to. So to bring in somebody different and fit into that standard and that expectation, I mean, he's just so physical and so gifted and everything that you want at that position. I mean, it only makes sense why he was recruited so high. Every time he was in the transfer portal, I think, man, Marvin Jones Jr. is going to be a guy that can really come in and help us right away, because that spot there is a couple changes, whether it's Taylor, Danny, or Alex Shield Knight, or all the young guys that have been there and are coming up. Man, somebody has to step up, and that's a guy that's got some reps and has been in some really strong foundational programs to grow and to hopefully come out here and explode.
And I think he's got some versatility. He's not just a hand-down defensive end. He can rush the passer well. He's got great length. You've seen in the past he's done quite a bit from a two-point. He's athletic enough to be, a zone dropper if they're doing some zone pressures or changing things up on the front a little bit. So, I think, at a minimum, he's going to add depth to that rotation. But if you get him at his best where he's comfortable in this defense, he can create some havoc.
Last week, when we were talking about the offensive side of the ball, we gushed about Fasusi, Foje, Elijah Thomas, a lot of exciting true freshmen.
You almost jumped out your seat talking about them boys.
I got a little excited.
I did too.
I didn't go overboard. I got a little excited, though. Is there anyone, speaking of the true freshmen that are in early, Caleb, is there anyone that's really standing out and really impressing the coaching staff?
Man, that's hard because it should be easier for me to pick
I know that guy. Trent Wilson is a guy that
Yeah, he looks like he's 40.
Looks
like he's 40. Acts
very
like he's
serious.
40. Yeah.
Very serious demeanor out there.
I walked by him. I said, "You don't smile?" He said, "I try not to." I'm like, "What's wrong with you?"
It's like, all right, then, Cortland Guillory is a guy you look out there, you see him getting reps, and just long, lean guy in the back end.
I think over at that corner position with Cortland, I can touch on that a little bit. You know, you have taller guys. That's the emphasis that we want in SEC. Obviously, Eli Bowen, short but mighty, and he's a boss and is doing what he's doing at 5'10" on a good day, you know. And so big respect to him. But then obviously what we want is those 6-foot guys, so 6'2", 6'3". We brought in Des Malone. I mean, we had Kanai Walker, all those bigger corners. But like we mentioned earlier, we had a couple busts. And so I think the emphasis that has changed a little bit in some of these guys is, man, yeah, we want these taller corners, but we want guys that are running 4.3, 4.4, like guys that can chase you down if they make a mistake. Okay, especially when you're young, if you're going to get playing time, you got to have that ability to make a mistake but save yourself, specifically at that corner position, because they're going to look over and say, and I was a Sam linebacker out there, they kept playing me and man on dudes running 4.4. I'm like, I'm 230, come on, help me out. But you look over at that corner and you see he's a freshman, and you get that little check. If y'all see a little thumbs up, if you see a quarterback do that, that means bye-bye.
Here we go.
Yeah, that means he's running a go ball. And so you got to have that speed. And I think that Cortland Guillory is a guy that I think really, yes, he's technically sound, has been to a bunch of camps, but, man, the speed on him is something that's really going to help him out.
I'll tell you the thing that I like. You know, I like the Wimberly and Robinson, the safeties that came in.
Robinson looks good physically.
Here's the thing. I think those guys, it's going to be a year for them. But we get enamored with guys playing right away. Like, what freshmen are going to play right away? In the perfect world, you don't want anyone playing right away, right? You want established veteran guys that are out there playing, and maybe you sprinkle some young guys in here and there. But it's hard to go from high school to playing big-time college football. And, you know, I think it's a healthy environment whenever you're not asking a bunch of these guys out of high school to come in and take starting roles. So I think we're in a really healthy spot defensively.
A lot of new faces on the defensive side of the ball on the coaching staff. Talk to these guys about how the new guys are fitting in. Keep it right here. It's Sooner Sports Talk at Rudy's.
We want to thank all of our Sooner Radio Network affiliates across the state and region. Fans can check out Soonersports.com for an affiliate in your area. And if you're traveling outside the state of Oklahoma, you can listen to all the action on either SiriusXM Radio or download the Varsity Network app and listen free. Oklahoma Buick GMC dealers. See your Oklahoma Buick GMC dealer.
Welcome back to Sooner Sports Talk here at Rudy's. This segment is brought to you by Pike Pass. Make it home safe, Oklahoma. Thanks, Pike Pass. Two new guys. Nate Dreiling, Wes Goodwin, hands-on with the linebacker group. Caleb, how are the new coaches on the defensive side fitting in?
Yeah, Wes Goodwin taking on the reins really with the Cheetahs. Has been in the defensive scheme of Venables for a really long time, coming from Clemson, and keeping that going. And so I think, man, that you're getting the very unique thing. Wes Goodwin, Nate Dreiling, both having DC experience or head coach experience, even in Nate Dreiling, man, you're getting really highly touted, highly experienced coaches to coach your position groups. Like, you got Wes Goodwin, who was the defense coordinator, like, just focusing on one position right there. And so
Hall too. Brandon Hall was
Brandon Hall, Temple at Temple. I mean, you got all these guys that have called entire defenses, have had to prepare for a game plan for week in, week out, to go in and, all right, now instead of having all 11 guys, you just have one to focus on or two to focus on. And so that really, I mean, lets them pay attention to detail and really pushes them, because you got guys that know what it looks like to lead, guys that know what it looks like when it's correct from an entire scheme, but now I get to focus on one. And so really excited to have these guys, so much wealth of knowledge and passion, and when they coach, when they're out there. And so I think they're both great additions.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that the linebackers can get yelled at by 3 different people, Venables, Dreiling, and Goodwin. I think the points you hit on are great. The cheetah position, it's kind of been, it was absorbed by the linebacker spot, but it's really not a linebacker. It's been coached by safety coaches, but it's really not a safety. Mm-hmm. It really is a unique spot, and to have someone that's really focused in on that position, because if you're in with the safeties, your reads, your responsibilities, your drops are a lot different, so it doesn't really fit in with the coaching points and the drill work. And it's kind of the same thing with linebackers. You just fit them in with linebackers. Well, if you're a cheetah, do you need to be doing your block protection on the guards and all going through all of that stuff? It really needs its unique coach, unique drills that you do, unique coaching points. So I think that's a big advantage that we've got this year is all the experience and the detailed coaching that we're going to get at those different spots.
Some accomplished guys that have been added to the staff, and Venables back, calling plays. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule. This is brought to you by the Trails Golf Club of Norman. At the Trails Golf Club in Norman, you'll experience everything you love about golf and more. It's almost Crimson Combine time,
I heard
boys.
Caleb Kelly's racing one of the receivers at the Crimson Combine.
Can you confirm?
I didn't know that, but I'm not scared.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay, you
I'm
heard
a
it here.
has-been, like I got nothing to lose.
It's going to be a lot of fun, Sooner Nation. Make sure you get your tickets for the Crimson Combine. Coming up next, we'll finish this thing out. Keep it right here. You're watching Sooner Sports Talk.
Thank you to our cornerstone television partners, OU Health, OG&E, Fowler Auto Group, and Coca-Cola.
Welcome back to Sooner Sports Talk here at Rudy's. This last segment is brought to you by the Oklahoma Buick and GMC dealers. Crimson Combine on the 12th. What's the one thing you want to see?
Oh, I don't even know what my options are.
I don't know either. That's what makes it fun. Uncertainty's fun.
I've seen people throw out like alumni, like if you could get the right alumni led by Baker Mayfield in like 7-on-7 against some guys, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
That would be anything. You got 5 seconds.
No, I'm just gonna save it because I actually know what's happening.
Well, there you have it. All right, same time, same place next week. Sooner Nation, thanks for watching Sooner Sports Talk.
Live at Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, bringing you the best in real Texas barbecue. Sooner Sports Talk has been brought to you by Dos Equis, official import beer of OU Athletics. Go for Dos. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Sooner Sports Network.